A strange bronze object survived Rome's collapse, but somehow its meaning didn't. Scattered across Europe, the Roman dodecahedron remains one of archaeology's strangest puzzles, carefully preserved in soil yet erased from history. And this whole mystery kicks off way earlier than most people realize. In 1739, a strange bronze object surfaced from a quiet English field in Hertfordshire, part of the English Midlands. At first glance, it didn't look Roman, medieval, or anything familiar. 12 flat faces, perfect geometry, holes punched through each side. Small knobs sit on every corner like they were deliberately placed there. Early antiquarians didn't know what to make of it. Some thought it was broken, others assumed it had to be decorative junk, something trivial that survived by accident. But the confusion stuck. Nobody could explain why something so carefully crafted had no obvious function. And here's where it gets stranger. As decades passed, more of them started appearing, not just in Britain, but across Northern Europe. Every new find raised the same uncomfortable question. If this thing mattered enough to be made again and again, why was nobody talking about it? Early theories were guesswork, driven by imagination more than evidence. Modern archaeology brought better tools, better dating, and better context, but still no answers. 3 centuries later, scholars are better informed and just as confused. So what would you have thought back then? Tool, symbol, or something Rome didn't want remembered? And this is where things stop being weird and start being unsettling. A Roman dodecahedron is a small, hollow bronze object shaped with 12 perfectly pentagonal faces. Not 10, not 8, 12. That alone puts it in rare geometric territory, even by Roman standards. This isn't a casual shape you stumble into. It's deliberate, calculated, almost obsessive. Each of those 12 faces has a circular hole cut straight through the center. But here's the catch. No 2 holes are the same size. Some are wide, others narrow, and there's no visible pattern explaining why. Inside, the object is completely hollow, with exceptionally thin walls, almost fragile for something made of bronze. Then there are the corners. All 20 vertices are capped with small knobs or spheres like anchors or grips, except they don't grip anything. They don't lock. They don't attach. They just sit there. And the strangest part? Absolute silence. No inscriptions, no numbers, no symbols, no instructions. Romans loved labeling things. Weights, tools, religious objects. Yet here nothing. Just shape, precision, and emptiness. It looks important, it feels intentional, but it refuses to explain itself. So ask yourself, if this wasn't meant to be understood, who was it meant for? Now here's where a lot of popular theories quietly fall apart. The Roman dodecahedron isn't big. They range from about 4 to 11 centimeters tall, roughly golf ball to fist-sized, small enough to carry, small enough to hide, and their weight anywhere from 35 grams to about 1 kilogram, depending on thickness and casting. They're made from a copper alloy, usually bronze, cast with great skill. But despite the metal, they're surprisingly light and delicate. The walls are thin. Drop one the wrong way and it cracks. That immediately kills the idea of it being a weapon, a tool for heavy work, or anything meant for rough handling. This lightweight build matters. It tells us this wasn't designed for force, pressure, or daily wear. No battle damage, no stress marks, no signs of long-term mechanical use. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't practical in the normal Roman sense. It wasn't built to work hard, it was built to exist, and that detail changes everything. This part doesn't get enough attention because it quietly proves these objects weren't casual throwaways. Roman dodecahedron were made using the lost wax casting technique, a demanding process that leaves zero room for mistakes. First, a full wax model had to be sculpted by hand. Every face, every hole, every knob. Then it was encased, melted out, and replaced with molten bronze. One shot. Mess it up, and the whole thing's ruined. That's why the outside looks smooth, clean, and almost polished, while the inside is rough and unfinished. The beauty was meant to be seen, not hidden. Many are decorated with concentric circles etched around the holes, along with dots and fine lines. Not random, not sloppy, intentional. Look closely at the knobs on the corners, and another detail jumps out. They're slightly uneven and inconsistent in size and shape. That tells us these weren't stamped from a factory mold. Each one was individually crafted, likely by skilled metalworkers who knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't practice work. This wasn't a test piece. Making one required time, material, and expertise, meaning someone believed it was worth the effort. Now here's where the mystery takes a sharp turn. Roman dodecahedron have been found scattered across Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Austria, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. Dozens of them. Different soils, different regions. Same object, same time period, but one place is missing. Italy, not Rome, not Pompeii, not the heart of the empire. That absence is impossible to ignore. Romans documented everything that mattered: tools, symbols, and religious objects. If this were a standard Roman item, Italy should be flooded with them. Instead, there's nothing. And that's why many archaeologists believe these were Gallo-Roman objects, created in the northern provinces, where Roman culture blended with Celtic traditions. A hybrid world. Roman metalwork, paired with local belief, was never fully absorbed. This explains why there are no written records, no carvings, and no official mentions. Whatever these objects meant, they mattered outside Rome's ideological control. So the question shifts. It's no longer, what are Roma dodecahedron? But why didn't Rome claim them? And just when it feels like location might give us answers, it does the opposite. Roman dodecahedrons haven't been found in one neat category. They turn up everywhere and nowhere. That makes sense. Some were recovered from men's graves, others from women's graves. No age pattern, no gender rule. That alone breaks the idea of a role-specific object. Then there are the coin hoards, buried wealth, items someone cared enough to hide. That suggests value, maybe symbolic, maybe monetary, but not everyday use. At the same time, others have been pulled from military sites, places built for discipline and practicality. And here's the whiplash. Dodecahedron also shows up in baths, theaters, riverbeds, and even refuse heaps. Not honored, not protected, just discarded. That spread kills any clear explanation. Sacred objects aren't usually tossed in the trash. Tools don't end up in graves. Toys don't get buried with money. Every context contradicts the last. And that's the point. There's no single setting that explains them all, which suggests their meaning wasn't fixed. It may have shifted from person to person, place to place, or operated on a level we don't normally track archaeologically. So were these objects functional, symbolic, or something in between? This is where the imagination ran wild. Over the years, more than 50 different explanations have been thrown at Roman dodecahedron. Some sound clever, others are desperate. Most fall apart the second you look closely. Weapons? Like a mace head or sling bullet? Too light, too thin. One impact and it's done. Candle holders? No soot, no wax residue. Rangefinders or survey tools. There are no markings, no numbers, and no consistent measurements. Romans loved precision. This shows none. What about measuring devices? Same problem. Nothing is standardized. Hole sizes vary wildly. Dice or toys? Maybe in shape, but not in execution. Bronze was expensive. This wasn't something you handed a kid. Coin checking gauges? Interesting idea, until you realize the hole sizes don't match known Roman coin standards. Then there's the famous spool knitting theory. People claim these were used to make gloves. Sounds neat until history ruins it. The earliest evidence of spool knitting appears over 1,000 years later. Plus, that still doesn't explain why anyone would use bronze, or why similar objects exist without the required holes. Others argue these were craftsmen's skill tests, proof of metalworking ability, but that doesn't explain why they were buried, treasured, or repeated across regions. And here's the killer detail. Most show no wear, no scratches, no stress marks, no signs of regular handling. Tools leave scars. These don't, which means most theories fail, not because they're boring, but because the object refuses to behave like anything practical at all. And this detail quietly changes the tone of the entire mystery. Several Roman dodecahedron weren't found alone. They were buried with coin hoards, alongside silver, bronze, and real wealth. That placement isn't accidental. People don't hide useless objects with their money. Whatever these were, their owners believed they held value. Standard Roman tools, but objects created at the crossroads of Roman and Celtic traditions. Some scholars propose a religious or ritual function. Perhaps they were used in ceremonies as symbolic tokens or as objects representing cosmic order, much like a physical mantra or talisman. The complete absence of Roman documentation strengthens this idea. Rome loved recording tools, weapons, and religious paraphernalia. Yet there's no mention of dodecahedrons in texts, carvings, or illustrations. The conclusion? These objects were likely symbols rather than practical devices. They weren't meant to be measured, spun, or dropped. Instead, they existed to represent ideas, beliefs, or cosmic truths, a secret language of geometry, meaningful to those who understood it, invisible to the empire that otherwise recorded everything. And then there's the find that could crack the whole mystery wide open. In 1966 in Germany, archaeologists uncovered a Roman dodecahedron in the grave of a woman. Unlike most other discoveries, the context here is unusually clear. The object wasn't lying alone in soil or rubble. It was carefully placed beside a rod-shaped bone artifact. That positioning suggests a functional relationship. Some scholars propose the rod might have acted as a staff or scepter with the dodecahedron mounted atop. Imagine it like a handheld cosmic symbol, a physical emblem of belief, authority, or ritual power. Given the Celtic backdrop of the region, this could indicate ties to druidic practices or ceremonial roles. Perhaps even a personal amulet with symbolic weight for the deceased. What makes this find so compelling is its intentionality. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't discarded. It was placed with care in the grave of a woman, signaling ritual significance rather than practical use. For many scholars, this is the strongest evidence that Roman dodecahedrons weren't tools, toys, or ornaments. They were objects designed to represent meaning, power, and connection to the cosmos. And the mystery only widens when we look beyond the standard dodecahedrons. In Arloff, Germany, archaeologists uncovered a Roman icosahedron, 20 faces, hollow, bronze, and sporting spheres on each corner, initially mistaken for a dodecahedron. Across France, a spherical object appeared, perforated with triangular and pentagonal holes, echoing the same design logic but breaking geometric convention entirely. Then there's the dazzling, solid silver zodiac dodecahedron, found in Geneva in 1982. Each face is engraved with a zodiac sign, directly linking the object to celestial symbolism rather than practical use. Even more striking, gold dodecahedron appear in Southeast Asia, particularly in Oc Eo, Vietnam, where they date to the Roman epoch. Scholars believe these reflect the influence of Mediterranean trade reaching deep into Asia, showing that the concept of these objects traveled far beyond Europe. Taken together, these finds suggest the idea of dodecahedronal forms wasn't local or isolated. There's evidence of long-distance cultural exchange, experimentation with shape, and symbolic applications across continents. The Roman dodecahedron was part of a network of objects whose purpose may have transcended geography, utility, and even culture. And here's where the silence speaks loudest. Despite their distribution, Roman dodecahedrons are absent from written records, inscriptions, or artistic depictions. For a civilization obsessed with documentation, that absence is glaring. Some scholars suggest this may reflect a suppression of local religious or symbolic objects. These were items born in Celtic Roman borderlands, steeped in regional beliefs Rome didn't fully control. Beliefs that might have been inconvenient, obscure, or subtly subversive. As Rome transitioned toward Christianity, many pre-existing symbols, rituals, and artifacts were deliberately ignored or erased from official texts. It's a pattern seen repeatedly. Objects that held spiritual or ritual significance often vanish from the historical record, even when widely used. Practical tools, weapons, and official ceremonial items were cataloged, but items of mystical or symbolic power could quietly disappear. The dodecahedron seems to fall squarely into this category, valued by those who used it, yet deliberately left undocumented, hidden in plain sight, and ultimately forgotten by history. More than a tool, More than art, the Roman dodecahedron may represent something Rome chose not to explain. Scattered, silent, and untouched by time, it remains a cosmic symbol whose meaning was never meant to survive, only the object itself. And if you thought this was crazy, wait till you see what's coming next.